We're going to run a little bit long today, so if you've got a tea time right afterwards, I understand. Take care of yourself. Not too long, though. I'm glad you're here and I like you, so we'll take it easy. I remember when I was something like 12 years old, we had recently moved to our small family farm. My mom actually, thought it would be a good idea for my sister and I to experience nature in all its glory. It didn't seem all that glorious when about 3 a.m. one spring morning, Mom woke me up on a school night nonetheless. "Come on," she said, "it's time. You have to see this." I was excited, as you can imagine a 12-year-old would be under the circumstances. I stumbled groggily out to the barn in the darkness. The normally quiet barn was abuzz with activity. It was lambing season, and several of the most pregnant ewes were giving birth. If you've never seen a newborn lamb, you haven't truly felt hope. Hope so strong, it stuck with that 12-year-old boy for the next, 35 years or so. Maybe in a roundabout way, the hope I experienced 35 years ago has led me to this place, to Unitarian Universalism. Like many of you, I have experienced hopelessness more than I care to admit. I feel it just this week, pushing hard at the edges. I'm grateful to be here with you to push back against that hopelessness, by the way. Now, what seemed like a unique event that couldn't possibly ever happen again that night in the barn was what I call a fairy tale beginning. Once upon a time, there were two sheep who perhaps loved one another very much. And so a little lamb was born. I now know that fairy tale beginnings happen all the time. It's just that we lose sight of them. I spent many more late nights in that barn as a doula, or would it be a doulo? I'm not sure. When hate rears its head and when ugliness and fear come out to play, as they have this week, and make no mistake, by the way, they always do for someone, even if it's not on the news. Our saving faith calls us to remember the power and the beauty of fresh starts, of do-overs, of once upon a time. Fairy tales often end with happily ever after, but happily ever after can't happen without once upon a time. So you may know that we are part of an association of UU churches around the world. Our newly elected female president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, was in Charlottesville, Virginia yesterday. And from an interfaith prayer service led by Cornell West, the fiery son of a Baptist preacher, she broadcast what she was experiencing. As this church full of people was preparing to march out amid gun-toting neo-Nazis, Dr. West reminded the gathering and the world of the need for justice. He said, justice is what love looks like in public. Justice is what love looks like in public. That is the son of a Baptist preacher. That's the fresh start, the fairy tale beginning that the world is in need of right now, love. And justice is what love looks like in the world. West said, he held his microphone out. Don't turn this on, but he had this microphone, and he was bent over at the waist, and his hair was just all over the place, and his spirit was all over the place, and his voice filled the room. He said, "We come from a people who've been hated for 400 years, dishonored and devalued and demeaned for 400 years. Terrorized for 400 years, traumatized for 400 years, stigmatized for 400 years. I had tears just rolling down my face. I had chills. It was a huge church, and everyone just leapt to their feet. Once upon a time. I know we're all busy and we have problems and we have worries and we fight battles every day. For some, make no mistake, just getting out of bed is a heroic act. And I honor that act. That's why we have this community. So if that is you, come and be comforted. Rest in the arms of this community early and often in these sacred walls. For those of you who have more to give, though, Dr. West said, when we look at this moment right now, there's a long tradition in the American empire of spiritual blackout. This spiritual blackout is a relative eclipse of the decency of this nation. We must do better. Folks, we don't need sunshine soldiers, he said. We need all-season love warriors. We need all-season love warriors. I know you are all-season love warriors. I know you are. I've seen it. I've felt it. I've been in your arms, literally. Can we get a Black Lives Matter banner? Can we stand up and speak out for the things that this world needs? Maybe it's not a Black Lives Matter banner. Maybe it's huge, overwhelming participation of this congregation at the next protest. Maybe it's starting our own vigil. We don't have to call it a prayer vigil, or we can. I'll show up. All season love warriors. What would that look like? So, speaking of all seasons, this is an all-season sermon. It's all over the place because that's just the way things feel this week. I got to hold a baby the other day. It's been a long time since I held a baby, almost a toddler, actually. I guess. He was so excited about everything around him. Everything was new and interesting and exciting. I could barely keep up. He still had that new baby smell, the good kind of new baby smell. The one that smells like hope and possibility. I said in this week's preview that if you could bottle that smell and you could name it, you would name it Once Upon a Time, and you could retire comfortably on the proceeds and live happily ever after. So what is that about hope? That is the most magic of all emotions. Isn't that what makes new love so special? Hope? Think of every toast you've ever made at a table for an engagement or a new business. What about the hope of first days at school? Yes, soon, very soon. The hope of our children busily working on the Cobb House and growing in our Unitarian Universalist faith. What about that hope? Our President Susan Frederick Gray said these words afterwards. White supremacy is not new in this country, but its renewed boldness is. Today, Charlottesville was the front line of a battle against oppression that includes American militarization at home and abroad, criminalization of entire communities, and the belief that violent power makes righteousness. She went on to say, I am so proud, and she meant it, by the way, I am so proud of Unitarian Universalist clergy and lay people for witnessing courageously on the side of love. Our faith calls us to resist violent extremism. We must liberate ourselves from the paradigms of dominance and hierarchy that are destroying lives and the planet. Only love can truly confront this corruption that puts our democracy, our liberty, and our personal safety at risk. Only love can do that. It's more powerful than any weapon, even when it doesn't feel that way. She was confronted by paramilitary people with helmets and body armor and assault weapons right there in the city park. You know what the clergy did? They linked elbows to try to block access to that park, and they sang, "This little light of mine." Will you sing that with me in their spirit to honor them? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Whoa, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We can start again, we can have a fairy tale beginning. You are part of that recipe, your love, your hope, your presence. And if we don't get it right, we need to remember that once upon a time is a gift that anyone can give or receive at any moment. Will you give that gift to the world? Can I get a yes? Will you give that gift to the world? Yes. Once upon a time. James Arthur Baldwin said, "Love takes off masks that we fear we cannot live without, but no, we cannot live within." Every religion I know of gives us stories of creation, of hard times and suffering, redemptions and do-overs. These moments are part of the human experience, and whatever your beliefs about religion, the lessons are real. The long odds of David versus Goliath, the tribulations of the Odyssey, Luke Skywalker's hero's journey. Every one of those stories teaches us about the power of love. It's that power we need right now as we learn how to take off the mask of white supremacy that places a higher value on a white American baby than a baby born in Pakistan or Mali or Indonesia. I've heard Unitarian Universalists are more worried about the here and now than the hereafter. Well, are we? Is that true? Most of us don't believe in hell or eternal torment. Most say it's because God's kingdom, if there is such a thing, is right here, right now. The Lord's Prayer from the Gospel of Luke, it says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." I read that to mean that the sacred community, thy kingdom, is here. As in, thy kingdom has come. Thy will be done on earth is in heaven. If I were Christian, I would be a universalist Christian, convinced that God's kingdom is right now and heaven is all around us. This body and this mind are a gift given to me with the hope and the expectation that I damned well use them to make heaven look like heaven. Folks, we all need fresh starts on a regular basis. We have a mighty job ahead of us, and it's tempting to lose hope, but we must keep going. We have power, we have resources, we have the ability to change the world and to be the change that we want to see in the world. Once upon a time is now. When you lose hope next week, once upon a time is next week. There are 1,000 reasons why we can't, and there is only one reason why we must. It's the reason you came here today. I implore us all to live into that reason. Let's craft the greatest fairy tale of all time. Together. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.